A woman survived the sinking of the Titanic, then 2 more shipwrecks on sister ships. A man who shot the U.S. president was acquitted because the jury believed he was possessed. A family portrait showed a terrifying figure that wasn't there when the photo was taken. These aren't urban legends. These are real events, backed by records and photographs. They're not just coincidences. They're echoes of something darker, something unseen, something waiting. Let's start at number 10. Imagine going to a meeting and ending up dead in a toilet. In 1184, a group of powerful nobles gathered in Erfurt, Germany to settle a political dispute. The meeting was held in a room directly above the castle's latrine shaft. Yes, the medieval bathroom. But too many people crammed into the wooden-floored hall. Suddenly, crack, the floor collapsed, sending dozens of nobles plunging into the sewage below. Some drowned, some were crushed, some suffocated in the filth. Over 60 men died in one of the most bizarre disasters ever. But here's the weird part. King Heinrich VI, who organized the meeting, survived. Why? He happened to be sitting in a stone alcove, one of the only parts that didn't collapse. Lucky? Or something more? Even creepier? This wasn't the only deadly latrine incident in history. In ancient Jerusalem, King Jehoram was reportedly struck down after days of intestinal pain and died in the toilet. And King Edmund II of England, assassinated while on the toilet. Coincidence? Or is history trying to tell us never do business in the bathroom? Coming up next at number 9, imagine surviving 1 shipwreck. Lucky, right? Now imagine surviving 3. On board the Titanic, her sister ship, and a warship. Meet Violet Jessop, the real-life unsinkable woman. Violet was a nurse and ocean liner stewardess in the early 1900s. She worked on 3 massive ships, Olympic, Titanic, and Britannic. All 3 were called Unsinkable. All 3 nearly killed her. First up, the RMS Olympic. In 1911, it collided with a warship. The ship didn't sink, but it was a close call. Violet totally unharmed. Next year, Titanic. Yup, the Titanic. It hit the iceberg. Chaos everywhere. Violet jumped into Lifeboat 16, carrying a baby someone just handed her. She lived to tell the tale. Then in World War I, she served as a nurse aboard the Britannic. Boom. The ship hit a mine and sank in the Aegean Sea. She jumped overboard, cracked her skull, but somehow she survived again. 3 ships, all part of the same fleet, all called Unsinkable, all sunk or damaged. And Violet Jessop walked away from every single one. Coincidence? Or was she the real curse of the seas? Was she lucky or something else entirely? Next up at number 8, did a painting really burn everything except itself? Let me tell you the bizarre story of the crying boy. In the 1980s, this innocent-looking portrait of a teary-eyed child was mass-produced across the UK. People bought it thinking it was just a sad, emotional piece of art until weird things started happening. House after house mysteriously caught fire. Everything would be reduced to ash, walls, furniture, even metal melted, except the painting. The crying boy portrait would always survive, untouched, hanging there, watching. British tabloids ran with it, the curse of the crying boy. Firefighters even reported seeing the painting unharmed in multiple fire sites. Coincidence? Maybe, but the pattern was too weird to ignore. Some said the artist cursed it. Others believed the boy in the painting died in a fire, and his spirit was trapped inside. It got so creepy that people actually held public burning ceremonies just to get rid of it. Today, you can still find copies of it online or maybe in someone's attic. Would you hang it on your wall? Because in the end, it's just a painting, right? Next up at number 7, what if I told you a happy family photo once captured something horrifying and no one noticed until it was way too late? Yeah, this one's gonna give you chills. In the late 1950s, a family in Australia took what looked like a completely normal vacation photo. Smiles, sunshine, kids playing, but hidden in the background was something they weren't supposed to see. Years later, the photo resurfaced while going through old albums. Someone took a closer look, and that's when things got creepy. Behind the smiling family was a body, not someone walking by, not a prankster, a lifeless human figure, slumped, half submerged in a creek, barely visible, but definitely there. Police were called, the photo investigated, and get this, it matched an unsolved missing persons case from the same area and time. The body in the photo was real, and the family, they'd unknowingly posed just meters away from a dead body the entire time. Here's the kicker. The family never heard anything, never smelled anything. They were completely clueless until the photo revealed the terrifying truth. A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but this one told a story no one wanted to hear. Creepy coincidence or fate frozen in film? Halfway there. At number 5, did a whole island just disappear? No, seriously, this isn't a pirate tale or a myth. This is the creepy case of Bermeja Island, a place that vanished off the face of the earth. For centuries, maps from Spain and Mexico clearly marked Bermeja just north of the Yucatan Peninsula. Sailors reported it. Cartographers drew it. It was even considered Mexican territory. But in 1997, when Mexico sent a team to find it for a territorial oil claim, nothing. No land, no rocks, no sandbar, just open water. Wait, How do you lose an island? Bermeja had been on maps since the 1500s. It was even logged in naval records. So either dozens of maps got it wrong for centuries, or something very fishy happened. Some believe the island was deliberately destroyed, blown up, or sunk to shift oil boundaries in the Gulf. Why? Because if Bermeja existed, Mexico would have gained access to billions in offshore oil. But here's where it gets creepy. In 2000, a Mexican journalist investigating Bermeja mysteriously died of a heart attack at age 38. Coincidence? Maybe. Cover-up? That's what conspiracy theorists think. Modern surveys have scanned the seabed. No sign of a sunken island. Nothing. Like it was never there. So was Bermeja a cartographer's mistake? A mirage? Or did someone erase it on purpose? Either way, the disappearance changed Mexico's maritime borders forever. And to this day, Bermeja remains the ghost island that haunts modern maps. Some say it never existed. Others say it was erased from history. But one thing's for sure. When an entire island vanishes and billions are at stake, you've got yourself one of the creepiest coincidences in history. Next up at number 4, imagine being shot and then being shot again years later by the same bullet. Sounds like a movie plot, right? Well, this actually happened, and it's one of the creepiest coincidences in history. Let's talk about the bullet that refused to die. Back in the 1880s, a man named Henry Ziegland thought he had cheated fate. He broke up with his fiancée, and she was so heartbroken, she tragically took her own life. Her brother, furious and grief-stricken, vowed revenge. He hunted Henry down and shot him in the head. Henry dropped to the ground, and the brother, thinking he had succeeded, turned the gun on himself. But here's the twist. Henry wasn't dead. The bullet had grazed his face and lodged into a nearby tree. He lived, thinking fate had let him off the hook. Years later, Henry decided to cut down that very same tree. It was massive and too tough to axe down, so he used dynamite. Big mistake. The explosion launched the hidden bullet straight out of the tree, and it hit Henry in the head. This time, it killed him. Yup, the same bullet fired years earlier finished the job decades later. Talk about patient revenge. What are the odds? A bullet survives for years, hidden inside a tree, only to strike the same man who escaped it once. It's like fate hit pause, then resumed. Some call it karma. Others say it's pure coincidence. But one thing's for sure, that bullet wasn't done yet. Up next at number 3, it was supposed to be the core of the third atomic bomb. But what it became was something far darker. They called it the Demon Core. This 14-pound sphere of plutonium was left unused after Japan surrendered. But instead of peace, it brought something else: death. Twice. In August 1945, physicist Harry Daghlian was performing a routine experiment. A brick slipped, and in one horrifying flash of blue light, he'd exposed himself to a fatal dose of radiation. He died 25 days later. Slowly, painfully, the core had claimed its first victim. Almost a year later, scientist Louis Slotin was doing a similar test, using a screwdriver to separate two halves of a neutron reflector. Yep, a screwdriver. It slipped. The core flashed again. Slotin immediately knew he was doomed. He died just 9 days later. Organ failure, vomiting, burns. He called it a blunder that shouldn't have happened. The core had struck again. Two brilliant men. Same lab, same core. Same deadly mistake. Less than a year apart, people began to whisper, was it cursed? Why that core? Why those men? After the second death, the experiments were banned. The demon core was eventually melted down. But its legacy? Chilling. Was it just a tragic coincidence? Or did something about the core want to be unleashed? Coming up next at number 2. What if I told you a simple letter in the mail once carried death and a creepy twist of fate you won't believe? In 2001, just days after 9/11, America was already shaken. But then, something even weirder happened. Letters started arriving. Innocent-looking envelopes. No threats, no warnings, just white powder inside. That powder? Anthrax. A deadly biological weapon. 5 people died. 17 others got sick. The FBI launched one of the largest investigations in U.S. history. But here's the weird part. One of the victims was photo editor Bob Stevens, who worked for American Media Inc. He didn't open the letter, yet somehow he was exposed. The killer didn't just target politicians, he hit tabloids. Now here's where things get strange. The office building where Bob Stevens worked, it was the same building where the National Enquirer once published a story mocking Osama bin Laden just weeks before 9/11. And guess what? The very first anthrax letter was mailed days later. Coincidence or calculated revenge? The FBI later blamed scientist Bruce Ivins, who worked with anthrax. But he died by suicide before trial, leaving behind only questions and theories. And here's the kicker. Ivins had been obsessed with the media and even sent fake letters to throw off investigators. So was it just bad luck that Bob Stevens opened the wrong letter? Or was it part of something much darker? A killer that came in the mail and left behind a trail of fear, and one of the creepiest coincidences in history. Still think your inbox is harmless? At last but not least, dark, mysterious music plays. A passport flips open in slow motion, then catches fire. What if I told you a single passport survived the fiery chaos of 9/11 and somehow predicted everything everything before it happened. On the morning of September 11, 2001, the world changed forever. But among the twisted steel, collapsed towers, and burning jet fuel, something unbelievable happened. A passport belonging to one of the hijackers, Saddam al-Sakami, was found on the ground, in near-perfect condition. Let that sink in. A commercial airliner crashes into a skyscraper at full speed, a fireball of jet fuel explodes, and somehow a tiny flammable paper booklet flies out the plane, survives the inferno, floats down from the sky, and lands gently on the street. And guess what? It's discovered before the towers even fall. Wait, what? FBI agents reportedly said it was handed to a detective just minutes after the impact, not found in the rubble, not buried under debris. It was literally on the sidewalk. This one bizarre clue instantly helped link the attacks to Al-Qaeda. But skeptics, researchers, and even everyday citizens have one big question. How is that even possible? People point out that jet fuel can melt steel, but this passport didn't even get singed, while the plane and everyone in it was vaporized? Some say it's just a wild coincidence. Others think it's too perfect, like a plot device in a spy movie. A planted clue? A government cover-up? Or just the universe playing tricks? Coincidence or conspiracy? The predictive passport of 9/11 remains one of the creepiest mysteries in modern history.